You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
And welcome back to Byline Wilmington. I'm Rhonda Bellamy, substituting for Dawn Ansell. Incorporation of the town of Castle Hayne, for or against? That's the question facing Castle Hayne voters during early voting, which ends November 5th, and of course the general election, which is set for November 8th. Here to talk about the pros and cons are people on opposite sides of the issue. Tom Radowitz is the mayoral candidate on that ballot. He is running unopposed. Opposed to efforts to incorporate Castle Hayne is Chuck Bauer, spokesperson for Voters Against Incorporation. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank both of you for joining me.
Good morning.
I'm going to start with you, Tom, because this is an effort that you have largely spearheaded, the incorporation effort. Tell us when you began and why.
Well, thank you, Rhonda, for having us on here. I want to say that incorporation is certainly not anything new. It's been the topic has been discussed over and over again for 50 years. Back in 1997, we had a bill to incorporate introduced in the General Assembly, and another one back in 1999. Those bills, because of the political arena at the time, never made it out of the committees, and things didn't die down. The chatter was there for a number of years, and then the last couple of years it got a little louder, and so as a result, we had public meetings in Castle Hayne, invited all the public to come, and we had large crowds at those meetings. And as a result of those meetings, we were told by the citizens there that they had a great interest in incorporating Castle Hayne. And from that point, we went on to prepare our petition. This is our petition that goes to Raleigh. We prepared our petition, and we followed the guidelines put forward by the state of North Carolina. And as a result of that, we're here today, and now we have a referendum that we want to vote on.
What were Castle Hayne residents saying were the reasons that they wanted to incorporate?
Well, self-determination. We want to preserve the uniqueness of our area. You know, be able to guide the growth and manage the growth from a hands-on aspect. And we feel that the people in the Castle Hayne area are the most qualified to do that, as compared to someone that perhaps lives, you know, in another town or 10, 20 miles away.
I'm going to ask now of Chuck Bauer, who is with Voters Against Incorporation. It looks from everything that I've researched about your group that you're primarily concerned about the budget of a proposed.
That's one of the considerations. To go back to as Mr. Radowitz said, initially when the petition was submitted and they were attempting to have another referendum, well, based on history, you know, by and large, the people within this movement, you know, against incorporation didn't really think it would, you know, become a referendum. When it did, there was much surprise. There's been questions asked as to, you know, why we waited, why we didn't participate in the town meetings, but, you know, quite honestly, we didn't believe that it would get any traction. At the heart of the issue, though, is there was a time in past history that incorporation might have been a good idea when the tax base was larger, but it's gotten so much smaller now because Wilmington has annexed, you know, out within, there are certain boundaries that have to be met, that the tax base that currently exists and the money that we would be starting out with is fairly small, and that's one of the reasons. It won't support itself, so that then lends itself to additional taxes later on, and that becomes a real concern because government doesn't typically get smaller.
In your proposed budget, Mr. Radowitz, you're calling for 10 cents on $100 valuation. Voters Against Incorporation say that that's not going to be enough to sustain a separate government. Mm-hmm. They point to the special fire tax, and the administration or the collection of those taxes by the county is eating up a huge chunk of that. So what would you be left with?
The Institute of Government that puts out this book and directs people and their approach to incorporation covers it very well. We followed the guidelines. The 10 cents was a suggested tax rate. Now, the tax rate included, at that time, the 6 cent fire tax. Well, the county just raised it as soon as they merged the volunteer fire department. They raised it 3/4 of a cent. So now we get another 3/4 of a cent to deal with. If you look at some of our information that we have in our petition and also our handout material, you'll see that there are many towns. There are 550 towns and cities in North Carolina, and they all start out with 0 in their pockets. Some of them have a 2 cent tax rate, 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, and it goes on up. I think up to Burgaw had 50-some cents. And so there's a variety of tax rates. So, what you do, you collect the amount of taxes that you think you're going to spend on those particular services. And that's what the law requires, and that's what we did. And it's workable. It works in hundreds of other towns, so it certainly would work with our town.
One of the things that you say, Chuck, is that this does not exempt Castle Hayne residents from county taxes.
Absolutely not. That's still going to exist, your personal property taxes. And Mr. Radowitz just pointed out, the taxes are just going to go up to support itself, and it's another layer of government that we have. I believe that we do have self-determination because it's incumbent upon us as citizens of our community to take part in our local government, and New Hanover County is doing a wonderful job. And I think we do probably need some representation from our area, but again, that's up to us to try to get someone from Castle Hayne perhaps on the county commission, or at least speak for us on a more regular basis. I don't think we should stick our head in the sand.
I also understand that there have been some that were supportive of your movement, but who are no longer because they are not buying into the the threat of annexation from the city of Wilmington. So I want to talk about that when we come back, as well as the community service requirements. What services would be provided to the citizens of Castle Hayne should they vote to incorporate? We're going to pick up on that and some other points when we come back. If you're just tuning in to Byline Wilmington, I'm talking with Tom Radowitz, who has spearheaded the effort to incorporate the town of Castle Hayne, and Chuck Bauer, who is with Voters Against Incorporation. We'll be back right after this.